Tonight, MacGyver has 24 hours to get in and out of Burma to retrieve a canister of deadly toxin from a crashed American jet. Can Sam, Mike, and Jeff make sense of Mac's self-defense strategy that favors bags of snakes over assault rifles? Find out next on Making Fun of MacGyver. It's Making Fun of MacGyver, a rib-tickling takedown of our favorite 80s adventure show, Three's Company. No, it's MacGyver.
Name's MacGyver.
Starring Sam Jordan as the seasoned skeptic, Mike Garland as the true believer, and Jeff Hess as the voice of reason.
Welcome, friends. I hope you're safe and satisfied with your choice of breakfast cereal. I'm Sam Jordan, your host. As usual, I'm joined by my two fellow MacGyverites, Radio's Mike Garland.
How's it going, Sam?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right. Safe, healthy, happy, and overweight as always.
And sexy. Should have went safe, secure, and sexy, because you got that goatee and I'm liking it.
It's not just a goatee. There's a whole beard involved here, but you know what? The older I get, the grayer it gets, so it just blends in with my pasty pale white face.
I love it. Along with Radio's Mike Garland, we got California's Jeff Hess. What's up, Jeff?
Representing the Golden State, my facial hair remains luscious, though, thank you.
It is luscious.
Thank you.
And you got that. Is that a tan, or is that just a really crappy webcam we got going on?
It's partly tan. I've been doing an enormous amount of work in my garden, in my backyard in quarantine. So I've been catching a lot of California sun and getting burned because I don't tan so much as turn pink.
Yeah, you've got a garden going out there. That sounds like that could be a whole Patreon special episode that we charge extra for, but I don't know. Well, I'll leave it to you guys to figure that out. But
yeah, those raised beds aren't cheap. I have to MacGyver them sometimes.
All right, gentlemen, we recapped and reviewed the pilot episode last week. Mike forgot to tell us that the female lead of the episode gets shot in the stomach, but we fought through that flesh wound, and we came up with an average score of 7 out of 10 mullets. I was feeling a little bit bad about giving it a 4, but thank God I did, because you guys went 9 and 8, so it comes out to an average of 7, and I think I can live with a 7, but 9 or 8. But let me take you back now to Sunday, October 5, 1985. The number one movie in the country, knocking Invasion USA with Chuck Norris out of the top spot, is Commando. So pretty much just the same movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hasta luego, fellas.
You're a funny guy, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Are you going to tell me what's going on or what?
No. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
And I just got to say how bad 1985 was as far as a year of box office movies, because previous number ones at the box office that year, Code of Silence and Rambo 2, did 4 weeks at number one. And it's just like nothing but testosterone, shoot 'em up fest the whole year of 85. I guess, and still today it would be like superhero movies, but I can so much more live with superhero movies than this. Chuck Norris and Schwarzenegger and Stallone all just dominating at the box office.
Well, here we are and it's 2020 now, and I get that no one is going out to do anything, and movies may be a thing of the past at this point, but as of 2019, Stallone and Schwarzenegger are still rolling out these action flicks. I mean, you mentioned 1985 and Rambo 2. 2019 saw yet another Rambo come out, and didn't 2019 also give us another Terminator movie?
I can't even keep track anymore.
And you could argue The Expendables is just an extension of the Commando integrated universe.
Well, and Chuck Norris was in one of The Expendables. But, Sam, we digress. Please continue.
No, yeah, I guess just the difference is that these movies come out now, and you're like, oh, that's cute, another action movie with Stallone. But these were like the number one movie, like the country was going to see all these movies in 1 year. And now it's like every few years, but now it's the superhero movies. But
well, you're going to get a lot of that vibe from this episode.
Okay, yeah, exactly, right? It's that same kind of mid-'80s...
Real sweaty.
America, F yeah kind of thing, sweaty, showing off the biceps. And so, bad year for the box office, but a good year on that night for television. 8 o'clock Sunday night, Murder, She Wrote on CBS, Amazing Stories on NBC, and on ABC, just as it had aired the previous week for its pilot episode. We have episode 2, The Golden Triangle, tonight, gentlemen. That's the name of this episode. And I just wanted to give a little bit of credit to the guy that created the show, Lee David Zlotoff. Don't know how you say his last name. Sorry, Lee. But the guy created MacGyver. You see his name in front of every episode, and I felt like we didn't mention it to start this whole thing off. But that's probably the last time we'll mention it, too. But this...
Did he invent that medication for depression?
I think so, yes. He did that right after MacGyver to cure him of all these MacGyver episodes. And this episode written by Dennis Foley and directed by Paul Stanley, who somehow found time to do this while he was touring with Kiss, apparently.
You have to mine the internet, Sam, and you don't have to dig too deep to find a nice collection of Paul Stanley monologues from concerts. It's the same shtick at every show with different town's name inserted here.
All right! Toronto! You feel good! Yeah! All right!
Oh, that's true. Can you give me one? Step back a little bit from the mic and give me Cleveland. What's up, Cleveland? What's he say?
How you doing, Cleveland?
Yeah,
We're
that's
here
not
to
bad.
rock and roll!
That's it. That's not bad. And now I would like you to take us through the Golden Triangle in that voice, please, the entire time. Break it down for us, Mike.
See, there we go. I am not here to rock and roll all night, nor shall I party every day. The Golden Triangle, it opens in a junkyard. Act 1, we open in a junkyard. You see a bad guy stomping out a cigarette. Mac,
how do you know he's bad? How do you know he's bad?
I mean, I assume he's a bad guy because seconds later we find out he's got a gun.
He's got bad guy music and a gun.
Well,
Yeah,
he
true.
does have bad guy
There you
music, and Mac is now sneaking through this junkyard in the rubble, and he's giving us a monologue about his first car. And the bad guys are there because they're trying to sell secret launch codes, and Mac causes a distraction by knocking a stack of tires over, and in doing so, he then gets the bad guys to walk away from their car, where this briefcase is with the launch codes, while Mac gets in some sort of junkyard device that would have a big crane magnet on it that you would use to pick up cars to put them in the crusher. But instead of this magnet picking up the car, it only is set to pick up briefcases and a pistol. So he picks up...
It's a really selective magnet.
It was a very selective magnet. I mean,
that does not MacGyver, by the way.
I mean, I am a chick magnet. That is what I attract. This was a briefcase magnet.
Especially when you talk like Paul Stanley. I mean, I see like women coming into your apartment right now.
Thank you,
but...
Boston!
Oh wait, did we get to how quietly this probably like 2-ton magnet drops down behind like the guy is like where's
he snuck right in. That magnet
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
kind of silencer that the bad guy's gun did. And by the way, why is it that every bad guy in like 70s and 80s TV, clearly they don't know how to hold a gun? I don't know at what point in Hollywood they finally had these actors go to like gun holding school, but they're always holding them like it's the worst thing ever.
At waist
level, some sort of awkward whatever.
No wonder they
waist
miss.
level. Yeah.
So anyways, so he gets the gun from the bad guys as he pulls the briefcase off the magnet. He tosses the gun in the back of one of the junk cars, grabs the briefcase and runs off. And now the bad guy that had that gun, by the way, he goes into the back of the car and pulls the gun back out while his other cohorts give chase. So now they're walking down the aisle. I think there was 3 bad guys, and 2 of them are walking down parallel aisles, and you get that gag of they each turn trying to get the drop on MacGyver, but really they're getting the drop on each other, and that happens 2 rows in a row. And
Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello kind of action.
Yeah,
going on there.
that kind of shtick. So MacGyver then starts talking about how he always goes in and has a plan, and he starts to get out of the car talking about how he always gets into a situation with having a plan, but then he kind of stops. And sometimes, what was the line, Jeff? That, sometimes the plan hits you or something like that.
Yeah, and sometimes it hits you right in the face.
And
he turns around and gets punched right in the face.
Yeah, he gets
that. Does MacGyver getting punched in the face?
I can relate to that one. Up
Did you
close
test it
and
out
personal.
over the past week?
Not in the past week, but like when I was in college.
Maybe Mac gets punched, because he's focusing on his inner monologue and not trying to escape a deadly situation. Like, why are you talking to yourself?
Oh, wait, are we certain that these are inner monologues?
He's got that.
I think he's saying this. I think he's doing this out
I think
loud
it
to
would be
himself.
spectacular as he's traipsing through the junkyard if he was basically narrating his entire journey through the junkyard and amusing himself with whimsical anecdotes.
It's one thing to not want to use guns and take on like 5 guys, right? But then to still do like a poignant narrative, inner monologue about what is happening while you're trying to escape the situation. It's really impressive.
Much
He's
more
as cool-
voiceover now. This
He is
episode,
as-
way more voiceover.
MacGyver's
Yes.
as cool as the other side of the pillow when it comes to these situations, that's for sure. So he now comes to after having been knocked out by the bad guy in the backseat of a car. And even during this horrible situation, he manages to make a joke about how he can think of probably other, like, more fun things that he's done in the backseat of a car.
You know what I mean, guys? Hey, you get it?
I
I
count a bunch
slept
of
back here.
license plates once from the back of a car. I don't know what he's talking about.
So now there's a forklift that comes crashing through, and you get the effect of glass breaking, but you can clearly tell that it's like plexiglass or something, because as the forklift goes through the windows, they just sort of break in half. They don't shatter. They drop it like he's trying to escape, and the whole time he's like shouldering the door, and you're thinking, dude, the door's just locked. Like the car looked like it was in good condition otherwise, so just roll over, undo the lock, open the latch, and crawl out. Doesn't work like that. Right. They were smart. You think they were smart. So now he's in the back seat. The car's up on a forklift. They're rolling him to the car crusher where this car is going to get crushed up into a little cube. And MacGyver manages to somehow get into the trunk of the car where he's now using the jack or the jack handle to gimmick the trunk lid open. And just at the last second before the car gets crushed into a little cube, he escapes out of the back of the car. And then he tries to sneak up again. He's back in the forklift, and he's giving chase, and the bad guys are taken off, I should say, as MacGyver's back in the forklift, but he cuts them off, and he loads the bad guys up on the forklift, drives them up, and I noticed this. I rewatched the episode because I have been drinking a lot over the last couple of weeks. I don't know. I rewatched the episode, and I noticed today that he pushes the car up against the pole. So the driver of the car can't just open the driver's door and plop out. Now, he could still go out the front windshield, I guess, or like any of the other 3 doors. But they push the car up against the pole, and MacGyver walks up to a random phone that's in the middle of the junkyard, and he calls to tell his associates that the assignment has been completed, so I've got the codes, and the bad guys are here if you want to come pick them up.
That was the 80s, man. Phones were just everywhere.
I actually paused the phone scene for a second because I feel like in this case, they probably did requisition like a real junkyard to go shoot that scene. And there's writing on it like not to be used for personal calls and all that. So clearly MacGyver's already breaking the rules, because to me, it might have been a professional call that he made, but clearly was for personal gain.
Was there not room for one of the bad guys to like just kind of poke his head out and shoot down at him because he's only about 20 feet away, or no?
It's
They're totally pinned. They're
it's
totally
possible,
pinned in
but
there?
if Stubbins and Marlowe could have a gun stored away for an entire episode and
I love
not
Stubbins and Marlowe.
not whip it out till the end to shoot Barbara Spencer, then I guess you only really get out the gun when you absolutely need it, and while you're hanging up from a forklift, apparently is not that time.
Okay. I love that you're still throwing around Stubbins and Marlowe.
Names that will
I
live
love that.
on, like Dan and Dave, like tastes great and less filling, Stubbins and Marlowe.
I don't know who Dan and Dave are.
Was that the
Wow.
Olympic athlete?
The Olympic
Was
triathlons
Okay.
that had this
that
massive,
is a
the massive
reach.
It was a deep reach. But so Jeff, the payoff to this, to get off on a tangent for a second, there was this massive marketing campaign about these 2 athletes, Dan and Dave.
Who is the world's greatest athlete? Dan or Dave? Dan's mom.
Dan.
Dave's mom.
Dave.
Dan's coach.
Dan.
Dave's coach.
Dave.
And
O'Brien, I think their last name.
One of them, one,
Oh, I remember.
but
it
then
now.
like one of them didn't qualify for the Olympics. They went for the whole thing, this whole promotional campaign, and one of them did not qualify.
Yeah, but the other one went and won a bunch of golds, didn't he?
Well, it's irrelevant at that point. It's not just Dave, it's Dan and Dave. But anyway,
He probably shared with his brother, and
were they
they
brothers?
both won them. Oh no, they weren't brothers.
I don't know. But anyways, so now Act 2. And we open with some super sexy in Act 2. MacGyver on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Red shorts. He's looking like the Hoff in Baywatch on that beach. He's got the
That
shorts.
was extra virgin olive oil on him right there.
Extra
no doubt.
virgin.
And you like hoping like to get Pete now, because Pete was somebody else in the pilot. So you're like, okay, he's going to get a mission briefing. It's going to be Pete. No, it's someone billed as the General, played by Angus Duncan. And I don't know if we're going to see the General again, but it didn't work for me. Once you know Pete and you want your missions to come, your directives to come from Pete, this doesn't work. Especially on the beach. I mean, that's weird.
It gave me like a Mission Impossible vibe where he shows up to give him the mission. But really, I mean, if I was MacGyver, I'd have been pissed because you just defeated these bad guys in the junkyard. Now you're chilling out, catching some rays with your sunglasses on, and this guy in full military garb is blocking your sun and really killing your buzz there on the beach. But regardless, the General, not to be confused with the insurance guy, the General. Sponsorship opportunities available, by the way.
You've got now 2 of the trilogy of terrible, references. We've got Dan and Dave, the General, and I can't wait to see your third, but you got to pull it off this episode.
And by pulling it off, I'm sure you do mean pulling it off. I will figure it out at some point. Give me time. So now the General kind of ends with have you ever been to Burma? So he's briefing him on this journey to Burma, and much like the pilot episode, there has been a plane that has crashed, and there's precious cargo that needs to be recovered. So he ends up in Burma.
Also known as Myanmar, for you Myanmarians out there who prefer to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of kids, and they're touching on geography now, and my 8-year-old's like, Dad, teach me geography. I'm like, I can teach you the 50 states and Canada, but I feel like most of Europe has rebranded itself since I was in school. So yes, it was Burma, and then when did it become Myanmar?
That I don't know, but I do know it's not in Europe, but that's fine.
Well, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to say, hey, I don't know geography, and you mess up, I can't make fun of you for that. You just told me I don't. But I believe one of the Rambos was in Myanmar or Burma. I believe in the last 10, 15 years, Stallone went there and kicked some butt. I believe he went there. So anyway, especially with all those women coming over here, you talk like Paul Stanley. They're on their way, baby.
How you doing, Chicago? Myanmar!
Okay, so now he's walking through the jungle.
Which means something totally different, by the way. When you say Myanmar, you ready to rock, that means they're just going to stone someone, I believe. That's all that means. I'm sorry.
There you go. So he's walking through the jungle in, quote, Burma, unquote. I mean, I know the pilot was supposed to be somewhere in, what did it say, Southeast Asia, and he was clearly scaling the rocks of the Grand Canyon. I don't know where Burma is in this particular case, but he quickly stumbles across human trafficking. And there's a couple of slave leaders, but this lead slave guy, I think his name is Trang, but then MacGyver refers to him as something like Trang Lao or something like that. Truang later in the
Truang, right?
But it's almost like he's got 2 different names. Like the slave people call him one thing. It's like a one name or a one syllable thing early, and then he becomes Truang later. So I don't know. Could have just been like a TV goof that they didn't catch up on, or maybe I can't understand mixed Asian American TV talk from 1985. Could be that. So anyway, the lead slave guy Truang, pretty creepy, trying to be intimidating, but it's more comical as now a 40-something watching this TV show.
Work faster, Ming, you lazy boy. We only have 4 days left to harvest.
Again, the casting and I've thought about this, how today's Hollywood would not get away with that. They've used there's so many good Asian American actors or straight up Asian actors that could be in this film, but all they do is they cast these Asian American actors and have them act like Asians, and it's almost insulting. You couldn't get away with that now. All these guys look like they would have been in MASH 5 years before, and some of them probably were, but you can't cast people like that today. So I don't know. It was, bad casting. What do you think, Jeff?
I mean, for the standards at the time, it was pretty normal for that kind of thing to go down. But I think you're absolutely right. We have a bigger pool of actors to draw from, and I expect they would hire appropriate actors for the location they were trying to set. But
yeah,
I think I have other problems with it besides just the casting decisions.
Oh, okay. Do you want to elaborate on that now, or will you drop that knowledge later?
Oh, believe me, it's coming.
So there's a kid in this now. In the pilot, you had Dudley from Different Strokes that was in that episode in the pilot. So MacGyver clearly, at least through 2 episodes, has a thing with kids, and I don't think
he
it's
likes the little boys.
Creepy.
Yeah, he likes little boys by his side.
This isn't like a Jerry Sandusky thing. This is just like Hollywood kind of thing, but he had like a little kid. Now, Indiana Jones, you had Short Round.
Yep,
You had the kid
exactly.
from Goonies, and then he was on Head of the Class for a while. But like, it seems like these actors always had the little kid sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Burt Reynolds had a little kid and was a cop and a half, and Schwarzenegger had the little kid that's not a tumor in Kindergarten Cop. I mean, there's always a little kid foil to the big guy's deal.
And this kid gets, taking your thunder here a little bit, but he gets introduced to MacGyver, and then within seconds he's name-checking MacGyver. MacGyver! Keeps calling him MacGyver. I love that. Of course, I'm keeping track of MacGyver mentions. I got it for this episode, but you guys make your guess at the end. But go ahead, Mike.
So...
You're blowing past that MacGyver can apparently make this child instantly speak English?
That's good point.
He's MacGyver.
That's quite the superpower he has.
A little duct tape and a Swiss Army knife, and anyone will speak your language, apparently. So MacGyver tells the kid he's on his side, but he wants to know about this hat that the kid's wearing, and the kid runs off. So MacGyver then like catches up to the kid and like chastises the kid because, I just saved you. How about some courtesy? That's gratitude. It's this real, like, again, in the pilot episode, Barbara Spencer gets shot and he's chastising her. He saves this kid and he's chastising the kid. MacGyver is the one that's not grateful and thankful. It's just not, he's being a dick is what he was doing. So we come back and we see the slave trader guy, Truang, and he confronts both MacGyver and the kid, Chen. MacGyver has now been knocked out for the second time in about 15 minutes. He's being carried upside down like a stuck pig into the town. And Truang is dressing down MacGyver. I know who you are. You're a DEA agent. He's right on it because apparently Truang is puppet mastering all these slaves because they are mining poppy fields or cultivating poppy fields. Jeff, what are you growing in your backyard?
Squash, zucchini, eggplant,
Work faster.
basil, 4 different kinds of tomatoes.
Work faster.
We have string beans. We have succulents.
Work faster.
There's more, but that's kind of the headline stuff, the stuff you can live on.
Okay, so no drugs, and you're trying to give Whole Foods a run for their money.
Oh, yeah. No, I actually ate food that someone else made for the first time in, I think, 3 months today when I got Chipotle.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Sponsorships available, please.
Commendable. Nice job.
So anyway,
And you do or do not have a 35-year-old shirtless man tied to stakes back there alongside the
I'm going to say the answer, my friend, is blowing in MacGyver's chest hair.
So as Truang is dressing down MacGyver and calling him a DEA agent, MacGyver's going through this monologue again about how he had a friend that had a dog and the dog was abused and how it's horrible to see in pets because, the dog would just quiver because he was just waiting to be hit. And he said, for as bad as it is to see in pets, it's even worse to see in people. And that's when this big drug lord guy, General Naraya, shows up. Naraya comes with his henchmen and
Carey, I believe the last name was.
Harry Naraya?
Naraya Carey, yeah.
Okay. There you go. There's...
Sorry.
And now we're getting into my problems with this episode and the way MacGyver treats every one of these allegedly Burmese people. He is a massive jerk the entire time, and it's really off-putting to me. But that comparison right there, he's comparing these people to dogs. Like, his mindset, it's very 1984, very America, yes, go us, everything. We're going to go all over the place and fix everything. It's just, watching it 25, 26 years after it came out, it's jarring to me.
So as Naraya is talking to Truang is trying to defend himself and why the poppies haven't been properly, say cultivated, plucked, farmed, whatever. Truang saying, all these slaves are old, they're complainers, they're lazy, but then he tries to promise them, I will get it done. So as they're doing this, Naraya then goes over and checks out the stockpile of weapons that got seized from this downed plane as well. And so MacGyver's eyeing up those weapons. He's trying to think about things that are in there. He doesn't use guns, but he'll certainly use explosives to help escape. And Naraya goes back to yelling at all his henchmen because, it's we got to get this done. Lots of posturing on behalf of Naraya and Truang. So what you have then as Act 2 comes to an end is Naraya tells Truang and the henchmen to basically tie MacGyver up and put him, I guess maybe like at the head of the working trail or something like that, because then all the slaves are going to pass him every day. They're trying to wear MacGyver down, maybe kill him or whatever. So they they tie him to this bamboo. It's not quite a crucifix, but it's a rectangle. I think a big bamboo rectangle bed, not something that Posturepedic is going to be selling anytime soon at your local mattress warehouse. That's for sure.
MacGyver as Christ, my college thesis. Yeah.
So Act 3 opens. MacGyver's on this makeshift prison bed, baking under the sun.
My mom used to make a great broiled chicken. One of my favorites. It's funny. I'm starting to feel real sympathetic towards them chickens.
Chen and his sister have somehow gotten loose from the group, and they come up, and MacGyver says, hey, Chen. And Chen says, this is my sister. MacGyver says, nice to meet you. Any chance you'll cut me loose? And she says, no, she's not. Because she didn't want to, upset Truang and the group. So the MacGyver goes on, he makes some silly comment about the sunshine and kind of being in the sun, but the bad guys, they're still berating the slaves, they're still trying to make them feel small, and they're so negative. And then Truang is on Meng, who's another one of the slave leaders, and this Meng guy really shows his stripes. But I think there's something interesting about this Ming guy. I'm watching this and I'm looking. I mentioned, Sam, a lot of these guys looked like they probably were extras or secondary actors on MASH, which would have been a show before this episode. But didn't Meng show up in something after MacGyver?
Yes, according to IMDb, James Saito, he was a Shredder in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie.
What?
The original one.
No, he was not. You got to be kidding. That has got to be made up. There's no way that's real. That Turtles movie was very important to young me, and to find out that this guy goes on to be Shredder is mind-blowing. That's
1990,
ridiculous.
The Shredder, it says, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah. Capital T, capital S.
Now, if I know my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles correctly and my wrestling, was Super Shredder in that movie, and that was pro wrestler Kevin Nash, or was that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2?
I think the Super Shredder's in 2. I'm pretty sure they defeat the regular Shredder in the boathouse at the end of the film. Oh, they don't. They defeat him by knocking him into the water. Yeah. Oh no, Shredder loses. Yeah.
No, now Turtles, I can't see it. Great.
Turtles spoiler alert.
But just to let me tell you what else James Saito goes on to do in his career, to tell you how, I guess, being an Asian actor in America, what that means is you could be cast as Shredder. That's awesome. But then 5 years later, oh, guess what, honey? I got a role in Die Hard with a Vengeance. That's awesome. What's your title? What's your name? Korean proprietor.
Huh.
That's what he was in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Korean proprietor. So anyway.
Was that Die Hard 3? Was that the one where he was standing on the street corner with the very bad A-frame hanging around his neck?
I'm not sure. Just Die Hard with a Vengeance, 1995. Might have been that, yeah.
Okay. So anyways, so Ming is getting dressed down by Truang, telling Ming to work faster. And here comes Chen, by the way. Chen is back to MacGyver. And Chen slips MacGyver the Swiss Army knife. Chen says he stole it from the guardhouse. And so MacGyver cuts himself free. But you don't know that he's free yet because Truang sends one of the henchmen to go relieve another henchman. And this new arriving henchman, I swear that guy was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989, playing the role of Genghis Khan, but I don't know. We don't have time to look that up. Regardless, MacGyver tricks Genghis Khan because the original henchman that was guarding him actually knocked out cold over in the corner, not just propped against a tree. MacGyver has already escaped, knocked this guy out. Now, why do we see MacGyver always actually get knocked out? But when MacGyver knocks people out, it's implied that MacGyver knocked people out.
Well, no, we'll see plenty of those. And what happens every time he does that? What happens every time he punches someone out? Always hurts his hand. He's always hurting his hand. That one punch. I'm not used to throwing those punches, but I'm glad that one punch knockout worked.
So anyways, he knocks out Genghis Khan too and puts his pocket knife back in his pocket. And apparently he needed to put his belt back on to keep his trousers up because that's how he propped up the other bad guy against the tree. He strapped him up with his belt, and then before he ran off from his bamboo prison bed, he needed to put his belt back on because God forbid MacGyver's running through the jungle with his pants around his waist.
Then you got an NC-17 and we wouldn't have seen this episode.
No. And then now we get another awesome soundbite from this show, and I mean, it's Truang again. The guy was just loaded with sound bites talking to Meng about Meng being are you stupid, boy? He just keeps saying this over and over. And it wasn't just what he said, but it was how he said it.
Yes.
It's silly.
For a second, I thought you were truly stupid, boy. Are you? Are you a stupid boy?
So MacGyver sneaks back into the village. He's now back into the village, and he's back on another monologue. MacGyver and his monologues go together like peas and carrots, according to Forrest Gump. But
he was very long-winded this episode, as opposed to the first. They might have been written better than the first one in the pilot about the Golden Palomino, but he just did not stop talking, and I think we'll see that'll be the theme, the format for the show for the first 1 or 2 seasons. Then he gives that a rest, and I think that's good. But right now, yes, he is talking to himself throughout almost every.
And again,
scene.
We assume talking to himself, but regardless, he's now giving play-by-play of being a kid at the fair and how it was always cool to see people try and catch greased pigs. So now he's in this village and he lets the pigs loose as a means to create yet another distraction, and all the folks are trying to wrangle up the pigs, and MacGyver hustles over during this distraction to the
Hold on, I've got a doesn't MacGyver for the pig thing. So he said they used to wrestle greased pigs at their county fair. The county fair where I grew up, they had greased pig catching. And I can confirm those pigs are hard to catch. So that diversion would definitely MacGyver.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. I've never, I had a pig damage me one time, but I've never, and I've eaten a pig, so I guess I've damaged it in return. But I've never tried to catch a greased pig. But I believe you, Jeff. No, not gonna, clearly.
But a pig damaged you?
What happened, Sam?
A pig damaged you.
A pig did damage me. When I was a kid, we had pigs. And we grew them up from little piglets to massive fat sows with the intention of slaughtering them and eating them. And apparently when we were trying to load them on the truck for their final journey, they clearly knew what was up. And as I had my hands on the pig's butt trying to push it out of the pen, it turned sideways, and my arm was between its right hip and the inside archway of the shed, and it didn't break my arm, but it gouged me up pretty good. I was bleeding. I needed stitches. So a pig got its last laugh on me before I guess I got its last laugh on him. Something like that. So not the dumbest thing I've ever done with an animal, and that clearly came out wrong immediately. But anyways, we'll move on. No animals were actually harmed in the making of my comedy. So the pigs are out. MacGyver's over at the canopy with the weapons, and he's looking around, and he's still on the hunt for this dangerous container, the whole point of the mission. And he finally finds the
MacGuffin for MacGyver.
Okay, the thing he was looking for, he finds. Now he's trying to set off another diversion, this explosion, and he's talking you through it. It's almost like a Rube Goldberg explosion. This thing leads to this thing, which leads to this thing, which will be an explosion. He steals a Jeep, sends it off, but he actually bails out of the Jeep at the last second. He's got this single shot flare, which he shoots at the Jeep, causing the Jeep to explode. And I can't imagine that shooting a flare at a vehicle is going to make it explode, but look good on TV, so that's happening.
Now I have a doesn't MacGyver for you.
Okay.
So I felt pretty certain that the whole Rube Goldberg machine with the jacket into the boat that sets off the flare that melts the plane tire that makes it explode for the diversion. I thought there was no way this could be true, that a plane tire would get melted by a flare, but I looked it up. Now, they're really great at holding the pressure, but they're not actually that great at temperature. And there's something inside of them, of big planes like jets, inside of their wheels that are called fusible seals that melt at a certain degree temperature. And so on a big plane like a 767, that temperature is 371 degrees Celsius. Safe to assume this plane has way, way shittier tires on it.
Oh.
But the flare burns up to 1450 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to go with, it's pretty likely that flare would burn a hole in that tire. I don't know if it would explode, but we get close enough. I'm going to give it a MacGyver. That definitely MacGyvers.
I've been talking stupid for 33 minutes, and all of a sudden you come in and drop 45 seconds of knowledge and save the entire episode so far.
That's why he's here. That's why.
Well, I have sources for you too. The tire stuff is from Boeing. The flare stuff is from the National Association of Fire Investigators, who in the article I read also go on to say that these have previously been used as delayed ignition for incendiary and arson fires. So did MacGyver inspire an arson? I'm going to go with yes.
I mean, did Beavis and Butthead inspire arsons?
Oh, yes.
Yes, they did. Anyways, so MacGyver bails out of the Jeep, shoots the flare, blows up the Jeep. Now he gets in a truck, and he's on the run again in the truck, but he crashes the truck into essentially like the refugee base, and he's trying to get out of the truck. He's stuck at first, but he finally gets out. And Ming, by the way, is in the area. He finally has enough. He comes out of that shelter and tackles one of the bad guys. MacGyver is in the mix as well, and he's thinking he's going to get into the fight, but he lets Chen handle it. And what ultimately happens now is the slave master, Chuang, he's watched all his people around him fall, and he runs. MacGyver walks back into the camp and looks at the slaves, and he's like,
Well, I guess that's it then. Now you're free.
And like that's that. The most anticlimactic rescue of human trafficking in Burma ever.
ABC has to fill 18 minutes left of the episode.
So now as the slaves are free, instead of them being excited about it, they're all pissed off because they're worried that Truang is going to like come back and whoop their ass. So, you've got half the camp saying like, no, we're free, we'll fight. And then the other half, led by a guy that I know was on MASH, is like, no, he's going to be mad. We need to just apologize and tell him we're sorry and we'll work twice as hard and whatever. That's the end of Act 3 as MacGyver, he's there, but he's like, I've got a mission to do. I need to go. And before he does that, though, they're like, well, MacGyver, teach us to fight. We want to learn how to use guns.
All right, that's a good spot. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with more.
Burger King presents a musical message to Herb.
Come on now, Herbert, don't be shy. You're gonna love plain broiling when you give it a try. It ain't number one, it's what's happening. 'Cause what plain broiling does is lock the flavor in. So wherever you hide, come on, show me your face and take the plain brown burger, a plain brown burger. You're gonna love the taste.
And we're back after that word from 1985, some sponsor. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it was great. So, Mike, where did we leave off, Mike? What's the situation? The prisoners, they want some help, but MacGyver is not going to show them how to use a gun.
It's kind of like, no, it takes weeks to teach you how to use a proper gun. And then he's like, I've got a mission. I had a mission to accomplish, and I've done that. I'm going to go. Modern day or postmodern Cartman, screw you guys, I'm going. Pre-modern Cartman, screw you guys, I'm going home is pretty much what we got out of that from MacGyver. I came, I saw, time to go. So he walks off. He's going back to his.
Yeah, can we just acknowledge it takes weeks to learn how to go? We've got these assault rifles here, and they're going to come at us with assault rifles. But I don't want to train you guys. It takes a long time. You got to put a bullet in. You got to pull a trigger. Let's go set up some wacky contraptions in the woods. That's the way we'll get out of this jam, guys.
Well, and look, I have no issue with guns. I definitely feel like there's a time and a place. But seriously, if you have one and you need...
This is the place. And I do have an issue with guns, but this was the place. You want guns.
And you need to defend yourself. If you spray the bad guys are coming out and you spray the general area, I'm pretty sure you're going to get one.
Yeah. Go for it,
Even
guys.
by accident, you're going to get one.
Pray and spray. Run and gun.
So anyways, MacGyver walks off, and Chen, being the young whippersnapper that he is, has run to chase MacGyver. No, MacGyver, no go, MacGyver. So he chases after MacGyver, and the chopper has created all this dust, and you see Chen crying, and he's sad, and his big white knight has left. But as the chopper flies away, who do you have coming through the fog and the smoke? Exactly. MacGyver.
Which, by the way, this episode is played in there's an Asian variation on the MacGyver theme. If you'll. Yeah, it's played. Yeah, it's there.
But yeah, somebody playing their like little MIDI Asian sounding MacGyver music there is.
Well, they did that for every show. No matter where he is, they're gonna tailor his theme to that setting. So if it was in a haunted house, it's so he's in Asia, and then all of a sudden it gets that treatment. But I don't know.
And also, it's the second episode. They're kind of playing around with the character a little bit. The first one, he's like super nerdy. His shirt's tucked into his pants, and this one he's shirtless and kind of doing a cheap imitation of Charlie Sheen doing Stallone. And so they're working with the character. I don't think it works. I don't like this version of MacGyver. I don't like all the big swagger and all the insulting stuff that he does to the bad guys, and I just it's off-putting to me.
So now MacGyver comes back to the village. He's back with Chen, and Chen's excited. MacGyver's back! MacGyver's back! And MacGyver asks all the slaves what they've decided to do and if they want to keep being slaves or if they want to fight. And Chen steps up and he says, MacGyver, teach me to be a soldier. So MacGyver's trying to teach the slaves how to build booby traps, or I guess as Data in Goonies would have said, booty traps.
Oh, they're going to say breast traps. Either way, that's what...
Yeah, well, there's a few women who'll do. Anyways, so now there's this other monologue about what everybody's doing. The women and children are building one kind of weapon. The men are building another. Churang and his henchmen are coming back into the village. And now we go to Act 5, the final act of Episode 2. Dun, dun, dun. So anyways, as MacGyver is telling all the bad guys that you're not wanted here. By the way, MacGyver has the high ground. He says, you guys aren't wanted here. Don't come back. But if you choose to come forward, there's going to be a battle. And as he's standing there, like, posturing back at the bad guys, like, Churang shoots at him. Like, of course.
Well, of course. MacGyver's just standing there staring down in a small army. He's got no weapons on him. Hey, guys, I wouldn't drive any further if I were you. If I were you, we got grass traps and huts, and there's a few logs waiting for you. He could have just killed him right there. And then he reacts like, whoa, what's going on? Why so hostile? Why are you shooting at me, guys?
It's like that scene in the one Indiana Jones movie where the bad guy pulls out the sword, and he's waving the sword, and Indy just pulls out the gun and shoots him. Like, right. I'll fix you. Like, there, you're done. So anyways, Chen throws a rock at the Jeep. Now he's trying to get the attention of the bad guys and divert them off into the woods, and they've taken the bait. And a bunch of kids in a tree drop a bag full of snakes on this Jeep. Bag full of snakes.
The old bag of snakes play.
We can't teach you how to shoot a gun, but we can go wrangle up snakes in the Burmese jungle.
And that should take no time, and it's very safe.
MacGyver's educational, too, because in the voiceover, he tells you what a snake specialist is.
Ophthalmologist.
Did you catch that? Do you remember? No, it's not that. I know that Sam. Do you remember Sam?
A herpetologist, right?
A herpetologist. That is correct.
Not to be confused with a herbatologist.
I don't know what that is.
And I love MacGyver in the heat of this moment with a bag of snakes and enemies breathing down his throat has his time for an inner monologue. It's very impressive.
So now
I can't teach you to shoot, but I can send you into the forest to collect 24 snakes.
Exactly. So
and tell you how to talk to yourself in the middle of gunfire.
Instantly teach you English.
Grab those snakes, kids. So.
And did they look real? Most of them kind of looked real. I mean, that big drop was probably fake, but then I think the one on the gear.
You think they were all the same? Were they all the same snakes from Raiders of the Lost Ark? Do you think stunt snakes, if you will, trained stunt snakes? So, anyways, MacGyver gets in the Jeep, and all these snakes that have just been dropped in the Jeep, you really only see one, and it's on the gear shift. And MacGyver tweaks out, and Chen says, "MacGyver, are you afraid of snakes?" And his comment is, "I'm not scared of them. I just don't like being around them." So, you have that.
Like
a little of that Indiana Jones bravado, like, snakes. Why does it have to be snakes kind of thing? I mean, doesn't want to be around them.
Yep.
So MacGyver tricks the bad guys into avoiding another pitfall. That whole, like, dig the hole, drive down into it, that gag. And it doesn't happen there. And they're like, oh, we know what you're doing, so we're going to go this way. But he dug another hole. So now 2 Jeeps have crashed, 2 full Jeeps.
2 of them fall in there, right? If the second one couldn't tell that the first Jeep was driving in.
We don't have time to teach you how to shoot a gun, but we've got time to dig this big ass hole. 2 of them.
Well, that's probably where they got the snakes. I mean,
I know where I live, if I dig in the ground a little bit, I find worms. I don't know what you find in Burma when you dig that deep into the ground. Regardless.
Little known fact about Burma, entirely made of snakes.
Oh, the whole thing? It's not dirt?
Top to
Burmese python. Isn't the Burmese python from Burma?
No, it's from Florida.
In Florida? Well, now it is, but back then it was from Burma.
So now some of the henchmen go in the ditch, others don't, but there's this big log now that gets swung down, and it makes all the henchmen drop out of their Jeeps. And oh, by the way, the Jeeps happen to stop in the most perfect spot where all these guns that had also already been procured from other fallen bad guys have been set up. And now the gag there is these guns shoot out all the tires of the Jeeps.
The painstaking lengths we go to not shoot these enemies. It's amazing. And this
Literals who are literal slavers. These people are slave traffickers.
And about to be murderers, too.
They're trying to be.
Feel free to execute them.
So now we mentioned the bravado of the MacGyver character. You have another one of those moments where he sort of steps up out of the weeds, out of the jungle, and you get sort of that Rambo, Commando, Schwarzenegger feel where you've got the badass good guy coming out of the jungle. And all that's missing is Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle, which I'm pretty sure didn't exist yet in 1985.
Well, for MacGyver, it would just be roses. Because
his arms are way too skinny for to be walking out of the forest like that. He does not have any guns.
Well, he pops out of the woods. He's blowing a bamboo flute, which he also has found time to make instead of teaching them how to shoot guns.
You watch your mouth, Mike Garland, blowing a bamboo. I won't have that language on this podcast.
I believe that's something you can get at the local Asian food restaurant as well. So anyways, MacGyver's rolled back into the village. He's got his heroic MacGyver theme playing now, not the more racist version of his MacGyver theme. This is now the heroic sound playing, and they've got this tube set up that's gimmicked so that when they hook it up to the Jeep that he's just driven back into, and you accelerate the Jeep, it's now going to blow like exhaust smoke up and create the smoke screen, further debilitating more bad. How many bad guys were there? There's like this entire army of bad guys of Truang and Narai's henchmen trying to get into the village.
Unfortunately, they were all walking in one horizontal line, so they all get caught in the smoke at the same time.
It's Chen who ultimately gets in the Jeep to give the Jeep gas. All the bad guys are down. MacGyver comes out of the tent. He's got the bandana covering his face like a mask, and I referenced this when we talked about the pilot episode. I mean, we are stuck in quarantine hell, and here we are in 1985, and again, there's something in the air that you can't breathe, so you have to wear a bandana. It's really like life imitating art, or art imitating life or something all these years later.
Maybe that's why we came back to it. Maybe that's why we decided now to do the podcast. But this is 2 straight episodes of MacGyver that are mimicking the quarantine.
This is now an all bandana-related podcast.
Next time.
I'm changing it officially now.
Next episode, we all need to wear our own bandanas so that it looks great to us, yet no one who's listening can see it. So now Chen is in the mix. We're fighting. Ming's fighting. Anyways, MacGyver gives chase back to the stockpile of weapons, and he's thinking, I want to be able to fight off Narai's helicopter, who comes in, and he grabs his cable, and now he's hooked the cable to Narai's helicopter, and he's like ratcheting the helicopter back in with the winch on the back of the Jeep.
Can you reel in a MacGyver?
I don't know if you can reel in a helicopter, but the lifting capacity on a helicopter like that's only about 500 pounds. So that Jeep is definitely heavier than 500 pounds. So if you could get the winch on there, you could get the Jeep from getting away. I don't know if you could winch it down, though. But, I mean, once you got him secure, you got what you need.
So he ratchets him back in. He's trying to play rodeo with the helicopter anyways. And he climbs up on this box, then climbs onto the bottom foot ledge. And he finally gets the helicopter to come down. And MacGyver and Narai get into a fight. Narai picks up a weapon and comes after him. They exchange blows. Narai pulls out a sword, charges after MacGyver, but trips over the bottom of the helicopter and impales himself, and MacGyver stands over him victorious. Chen runs out. He and MacGyver hug. They both look...
but that ending, that death, Jeff, what's your take on that? It's such a cop-out move. This leader, this evil being...
you already had the villain in a helicopter just blow up the helicopter.
Right, and if he gets out, you're going to have this guy, the Kingpin, trip on his own sword and kill himself. I don't wonder why they did that, because they don't want MacGyver to actually have to take his life or something. I don't know what.
And, I mean, I guess they need some sort of definitive ending, because if you just capture him, who are you going to turn him over to? It's bizarre, but I'm expecting we're going to see more of that.
Anyway, so I mentioned Chen runs out. He and MacGyver hug. There's kind of little fear, but little excitement. And Chen looks over and looks at MacGyver and says,
"Now we are free."
Yeah.
The end.
And MacGyver just says, yeah.
I guess
that's it.
Guess you're free now.
Now we are free. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yep. We're America. We can solve any problem simply by showing up and murdering the right person.
So that is episode 2. Episode 1, technically. Episode 2, however we want to do it, but not the pilot, but the first episode after the pilot.
Yep. The Golden Triangle. There it is, guys. MacGyver mentions, let's do that first. Predictions. How many times was the word MacGyver said?
I'm going to go with 12.
I've got it right here.
17.
16.
Guess Jeff.
which is about 12 times too many. But you guys ready to rate this sucker?
Let's give it a go and wrap it up.
Let's do it.
Name's MacGyver.
I am not sure how I feel about this. I could have sworn I liked this episode more than the pilot before we started watching the pilot, but now I'm not sure. I really feel like I want to. Can I just pass and have one of you guys rate it? Because I want to, get some wisdom from you guys.
I'll go first. And I'm going to try and take my politics out of it because it was made when it was made, but I find this version of MacGyver to be just really obnoxious and unlikable. And so I didn't think the action was that great, and mixed with him being a real giant jerk, even though this was obviously more competent in its execution, I'm only giving this one 3 mullets.
Ooh.
I really did not like it. I didn't like the story. I didn't like him. Didn't like it.
Jeff goes from 8 mullets out of 10 in the pilot to 3. All right,
I think I
Mike,
gave
what do you
the
got?
pilot episode 9, which shocked the pants off of you. I promise I am not going to give this one a 9 because I definitely agree. And you can see, if you can really step back and look at what the pilot offered you versus what this episode, yes, it was MacGyver. Yes, it was this guy on a mission. But as Jeff has said, it really does look like it was a feeling out process for what this character is going to be. And maybe it was what version of MacGyver is going to test better with audiences. And I did not like this badass, rogue, dictified MacGyver that we saw here. So I'm going to give it a 4. Way down from the pilot. I give it a 4 because I just didn't like, and this is me saying, A, I know what the pilot offered me, and B, as a concept, I know what the rest of MacGyver offers me. So in this kind of standalone, I give it a 4. I like the action. I like the adventure. I like some of the stunts, but I didn't like MacGyver. This MacGyver did not MacGyver to me.
All right. Well, after hearing that, I think it's clear I got to keep it on the low end. And I'm also going to go 4 mullets. Like I said, it's not what I thought I was going to give it because I thought the cheese, which I felt like the pilot didn't have that fun, cheesy badness, which is really what I love about the first few seasons. And I felt the pilot was not that cheesy, just kind of boring. But this is, I don't know. It's not, I just didn't love it. This is my second time seeing it. The first time was about 3 years ago. But it's slightly a below average MacGyver episode in my opinion. So I'll go 4. So Mike, you're 4. Jeff, you're 3. And that is 11. And who's got the calculator? Divided by 3. It's going to be 3.6 mullets.
Yeah. It does round up 3.67.
We made fun of it.
It'll average to a 5. Don't worry about it.
Are we going to round up, guys? What are the rules going to be on the show? Is that going to be now a 4?
It's like 3.666.
We can make it
with 3.6. Yeah.
So if it was at 3.5, it would have stayed there. If it was 3.4, we'd have gone down to 3.
No, let's make it round number 4.
It's 4 is acceptable, but we got to off air. We'll come up with how we're going to round it.
The math of the mullet.
All right, but I tell you, we had more laughs talking about this one than we did the pilot. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, you can see a quality improvement, a big quality improvement.
And there are more laughs to come, a lot more laughs to come. So I appreciate you guys both being here. Any final words to our international listeners in Costa Rica or Norway?
Welcome to the pod.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl in Costa Rica, we hope you enjoyed it. Rick Kirkman, who I assume is our listener in Norway, producer of Tiger King, or at least he was the producer of the failed reality show.
That's it. That's the third obscure reference you did this episode. That's the one that makes no sense. Great job, Mike. At the buzzer. Bam.
There we go.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to create a email address, makingfunofmacgyver@gmail.com. It's a little long, but hey, if you want to talk to us, I'm sure you'll write that out. And Twitter account, Making Fun of MacGyver. So look for that soon, but we appreciate anyone listening. I doubt anyone is, but if you are listening, and see you next time on Making Fun of MacGyver.
See, there we go. I'm done already.